I had just retired when my daughter-in-law called. I'm dropping my 3 kids off with you. After all, you don't do anything anymore. You can watch them while I travel. I smiled and hung up the phone. I decided to teach her a lesson she would never forget. When she returned from her trip, the children hid behind me. The silence that followed was deafening. But let me tell you from the beginning, because what happened when she returned from her trip, when the children hid behind me and the silence was deafening, that was just the end of a story that began long before. My name is Barbara Miller. 35 years teaching at Lincoln Elementary in Cleveland, Ohio, had prepared me to deal with difficult children, complicated parents, and impossible situations. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared me for Vanessa. That afternoon, I was sitting in my living room enjoying my second day of retirement. Do you know what it's like to work since you were 22 and finally, at 67, have time for yourself? I had waited for this moment my entire life. My coffee table was covered in brochures, the Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, Savannah, places I always dreamed of visiting but never could. First, because I was raising Robert alone after his father died in that bus accident, and then because of the years of sacrifice to put him through college. The phone rang at 4 p.m. I saw Vanessa's name on the screen and hesitated to answer. Whenever she called, it was to ask for something. Barbara. She started without even saying hello. She never called me Mom, let alone Mother. I have an incredible opportunity in Miami. It's a multi-level marketing conference that's going to change our lives. Multi-level marketing. Another one of her pyramid schemes where she always lost money. The kids can't miss 2 weeks of school, she continued. So I'll leave them with you. Excuse me? My voice came out as a whisper. Oh, don't play deaf. I told you I'm leaving Dylan, Sophia, and Mason with you. After all, you don't do anything anymore. You can watch them while I travel. It's perfect. Now that you're not working, you have all the time in the world. I don't do anything. I felt my blood boil. This woman, who never worked an honest day in her life, who lives off my son like a parasite, was telling me that I didn't do anything. Vanessa, I have plans. Plans? She laughed with that high-pitched laugh I detested. What plans can an old retiree have? Knitting? Watching soap operas? Please, Barbara, don't be ridiculous. I'm dropping them off tomorrow at 7 a.m. And don't give them junk food like last time. Last time. The last time I saw my grandkids was 6 months ago at Christmas, and only for 2 hours. Because according to her, they had to go to their other grandparents' house, the important ones, the ones with money. I'm not going to watch them, Vanessa. What do you mean you won't? You're their grandmother. It's your obligation. Besides, Robert agrees. A lie. My son didn't even know about this, I was sure. He worked 1 4-hour days at the manufacturing plant to support this woman's caprices. If you want to see your grandkids ever again, you better cooperate, she threatened, because I decide if they have a grandmother or not. And that was when something inside me snapped, or rather, something inside me woke up. If you knew me, you'd know that Mrs. Miller never stayed silent in the face of injustice. And this woman had just declared war on me. All right, Vanessa, I said with the sweetest voice I could fake. Bring them tomorrow. That's how I like it. And don't spoil them. You know they're difficult children, but that's because you never knew how to raise Robert. If he had had a decent mother. I hung up before she finished the sentence. I sat there looking at my retirement certificate framed on the wall. 35 years shaping generations, and my own daughter-in-law treated me like an unpaid servant. But if I learned anything in all these years, it's that the best lessons aren't taught with words. I grabbed my cell phone and dialed a number I hadn't used in years. Linda? Yes, it's Barbara. I need your help. Remember what you told me about those hidden recorders you used in your divorce? Uh-huh, perfect. And one other thing, your sister still works for Child Protective Services, right? Excellent. I hung up and poured myself some chamomile tea. Tomorrow the real education would begin, but it wouldn't be for the children. Vanessa was about to learn the most important lesson of her life. Never, ever underestimate a retired teacher with free time and a thirst for justice. That night I couldn't sleep. As I tossed and turned in bed, memories of 35 years hit me like waves against the rocks. How did we get to this? How did I allow my own family to treat me like an old piece of furniture that's only useful when needed? It all started when Robert was just 3 years old. His father, my Mike, left one rainy October morning toward Columbus. The Greyhound bus skidded off the highway on a slick curve. 23 dead. Mike was passenger number 24, but he survived 3 days in the hospital. 3 days in which I spent our savings from 5 years trying to save him. "Take care of our son," were his last words. "Make him a good man." And boy, did I try. I was left with $40 in my bank account, a 3-year-old boy, and a teaching degree from the state university. The first few years were a hell I wouldn't wish on anyone. I worked double shifts mornings at the public school, afternoons tutoring. Robert ate before I did. If there was money for shoes, they were for him. If there was enough left over for a toy on his birthday, I pretended I wasn't hungry that night. My mother, God rest her soul, used to tell me, "Barbara, you're going to kill yourself working like this. Find another husband, someone to support you." But I looked at my Robert with those brown eyes, identical to his father's, and I knew no stepfather would love him like I did. No strange man would give him the love I could give him. So, I kept going alone. The sacrifices were endless. I remember one Christmas when Robert was 8. I had saved for 6 months to buy him the bicycle he wanted so much. On Christmas Eve, while he slept, I realized I didn't have money for Christmas dinner. I pawned my only ring that wasn't my wedding band, an heirloom from my grandmother, for $150 just to buy a ham and the ingredients for green bean casserole. Robert never knew. To him, his mother was invincible. His mother could do anything, and that's how it had to be. When he reached high school, the expenses multiplied. Books, uniforms, field trips, supplies. I kept my double shift, but now I also sold homemade pies at the church on Sundays. Look at my hands, wrinkled, stained, joints swollen from kneading dough at 4 a.m. But it was all worth it when Robert got into college. Industrial engineering at Ohio State. Pride overflowed in me. My son, the son of the widow Miller, the one who grew up without a father, was going to be an engineer. It was in his junior year when Vanessa appeared. "Mom, I want you to meet someone special," he told me one Sunday after church. There she was with her pastel pink dress, her perfect smile, her shiny black hair falling in waves over her shoulders. She looked like a porcelain doll. She hugged me with a warmth that completely disarmed me. "Oh, Mrs. Miller, Robert has told me so much about you. I admire you so much. Raising such a wonderful son alone. You are my hero." How could I not fall into her trap? Me, who had spent 20 years without a sincere hug that wasn't from my son, suddenly had this pretty little girl calling me a hero. The first few years were good, I won't lie. Vanessa came to the house, helped me cook, told me about her humble family in West Virginia. Her father was a construction worker. Her mother worked at a diner. "That's why I understand you so much, Mrs. Miller. You and I know what it is to struggle." Lies. It was all a lie. But I was so happy to see Robert in love that I didn't want to see the signs. They got married when Robert graduated. I paid for half the wedding with my retirement savings. "It's an investment in my son's happiness," I justified. Vanessa cried with emotion, or so I thought. Now I know she was crying because she expected a more luxurious wedding. The change was gradual, like poison administered in small doses. First came the subtle comments. "Oh, Barbara, it's such a shame Robert didn't have a father figure. It shows in his lack of ambition. If you had saved better, Robert could have studied at a private university. Don't be offended, but your pot roast is very plain. I make it with wine reduction, more gourmet." Every comment was a small stab, but I endured them. For Robert. Always for Robert. When Dylan, my first grandson, was born, I thought things would improve. I ran to the hospital with the blanket I had knitted over 9 months. Vanessa looked at it and set it aside. "Thanks, but we already have everything from Nordstrom. We can donate this." Nordstrom. While I continued buying my clothes at Goodwill to save for my son's future, she shopped at Nordstrom with Robert's salary. Then came Sophia and Mason. With each grandchild, I was pushed further away. Vanessa had 1,000 excuses. The children needed routine. I would spoil them. My house wasn't safe for children. My parenting ideas were outdated. "You just don't understand, Barbara," she told me once. Kids these days need early stimulation, French classes, swimming, robotics. Not just meatloaf and mashed potatoes like Robert grew up on. meatloaf and mashed potatoes. My son grew up with love, with values, with the certainty that he was loved, but Vanessa had begun her campaign to alienate me, and Robert was too tired from working to notice. The hardest blow came 2 years ago. It was Sophia's 5th birthday. I had saved for 3 months to buy her the dollhouse she had seen at the mall. I arrived at their house with the wrapped gift and my best dress. The party was in the backyard. There was a bouncy castle, clowns, even a princess show, and I wasn't on the guest list. "Oh, Barbara, what a shame," Vanessa said at the door without letting me in. "It's just a party for her school friends and their parents. You understand, it's different people. We don't want you to feel uncomfortable." Uncomfortable. The grandmother of the birthday girl was going to make the different people uncomfortable. I saw Robert in the background playing with the kids. He didn't look up. He knew I was there, and did nothing. I left with my dollhouse and cried the whole way home. That night I donated it to a shelter. At least there it would be appreciated. And now, after all this, after years of humiliation and scorn, Vanessa wanted me to be her free nanny, as if all the pain she caused could be erased with a snap of fingers when she needed me. But what Vanessa didn't know is that Mrs. Miller had learned much more than math and reading in 35 years. I had learned child psychology, studied dysfunctional families, seen hundreds of cases of narcissistic mothers who use their children as weapons, and above all, I had learned to wait for the perfect moment to act. I looked at the clock, 3 a.m. In 4 hours, Vanessa would knock on my door with 3 children who barely knew me. 3 children who had been trained to view me as the poor grandmother, the boring grandmother, the grandmother not worth their time. I smiled in the dark. If there was one thing I knew how to do after so many years, it was transform children. And these 3 were about to discover who their grandmother Miller really was. At 7 a.m. sharp, the doorbell rang. Not 7:05, not 7:10. Vanessa was always punctual when it suited her. I opened the door and there were 3 children with sour faces and suitcases bigger than they were. I don't have time for chat. Vanessa didn't even cross the threshold. Dylan has a dust allergy. Sophia won't eat anything with green vegetables, and Mason needs his iPad to fall asleep. Their meds are in the blue bag. I'll be back in 2 weeks. And Robert isn't coming to say goodbye to his children? Robert is working, as always. Someone has to support this family. She looked me up and down. Not everyone has the luck of retiring with a teacher's pension. My pension, $4,500 a month after 35 years of service. Vanessa spent more than that on her manicures and eyelash extensions. The children walked in, dragging their feet. Dylan, 12 years old, with his phone glued to his face. Sophia, 10, with a permanent grimace of disgust. And Mason, 7, already looking for the television. "Behave yourselves with your grandmother," Vanessa said without any conviction. Then she leaned in and whispered to me, "And don't you dare fill their heads with ideas. Remember that I decide if you ever see them again or not." She left without saying goodbye to her children. Not a kiss, not a hug, just the sound of her heels walking away and the engine of her leased SUV starting up. I stood there with 3 children who looked at me as if I were the enemy. And then I remembered all the times Vanessa had built this wall between us, like that time 3 years ago when I wanted to give Robert $5,000 for a down payment on a used car. Vanessa intercepted the money. "Oh, Barbara, better we use it for the kids' private school tuition. Education comes first, don't you think? I never saw a receipt for that tuition." A month later, Vanessa appeared with a Louis Vuitton bag. "A friend gave it to me," she said when I asked. "A friend, sure. Or when my sister Rose died and left me a $10,000 inheritance. I told Robert excitedly, thinking of finally fixing the roof of my house that leaked every storm. Vanessa found out. "Barbara, Robert and I are in a difficult situation. The company I work for went under another one of her failed MLM schemes and we urgently need that money. We'll pay you back with interest." Interest. 2 years have passed and I haven't seen a dime. My roof still leaks and now I have to put out buckets every time it rains. But Vanessa's trip to Cancun with her friends last year, that they could afford. "Grandma, where's the Wi-Fi?" Dylan snapped me out of my thoughts. "I need the Wi-Fi. Now, the modem is broken." I lied. I had disconnected it on purpose. "What? It can't be! Mom! Mom!" He started screaming as if he were being tortured. "Your mom is gone, Dylan. And screaming won't bring the internet back." You're the worst grandmother in the world. That's why nobody likes you. There was Vanessa's poison coming out of my grandson's mouth. It didn't hurt. I was prepared. I'm hungry, interrupted Sophia. But I'm not eating anything you cook. Mom says you cook horrible, and that's why Dad is so skinny. And I want to watch YouTube, added Mason. At home, I watch YouTube all day. I looked at the three of them. Perfect products of neglect disguised as modern parenting. Children who knew no limits, who didn't understand respect, who had been programmed to despise me. But then I remembered the exact moment Vanessa crossed the line. It was last Christmas. I had prepared my specialty, roast beef with homemade gravy, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole. I had cooked for 2 days. I arrived at their house with the dishes still hot. The kids ran to the kitchen, attracted by the smell. "Don't touch that," screamed Vanessa. "We don't know in what sanitary conditions your grandmother prepared it. Better we order pizza." Pizza. On Christmas Eve, I watched her throw my food into the trash without even tasting it. The children looked at me with pity, as if I were a beggar who had brought scraps. "Grandma's food is too greasy," Vanessa explained to them, "and her kitchen has roaches." A lie. My kitchen is cleaner than an operating room. But Robert was there watching it all and only said, "Vanessa knows what's best for the kids." That night I decided my son was lost, but my grandkids might still have salvation. "Grandma, do something!" "We're bored." Dylan threw a cushion on the floor. "You know what?" I told them calmly. "Your mom asked me to watch you, not entertain you. There is food in the kitchen, water in the tap, and beds to sleep in. If you need anything else, you'll have to earn it." "Earn it?" Sophia looked offended. "We're kids. We don't have to earn anything in this house. Everyone contributes. That's how I was raised. That's how your dad was raised before your mom spoiled him. And that's how these 2 weeks are going to work." "I'm going to tell my mom you're mean," threatened Mason. "Tell her, and while you're at it, tell her I found her Facebook page very interesting, especially the photos from Puerto Vallarta last month when she was supposedly at a training course." The children fell silent. They didn't understand what I was talking about, but they sensed their grandmother wasn't the same as before. That first night was hell. Dylan kicked his bedroom door. Sophia cried for hours, demanding her special food. Mason wet the bed on purpose. They wanted to break me, just like their mother had tried to break me for years. But that was when I made the discovery that would change everything. At 2 a.m., I heard sobbing from Sophia's room. They weren't tantrums. They were real tears. I entered silently and found her hugging a crumpled photo. "What do you have there, sweetie?" She jumped and hid the photo under the pillow. "Nothing. Go away." But I had seen enough. It was a photo of me with her when she was a baby, one of the few times I could hold her before Vanessa started her alienation campaign. "Do you miss your mom?" I asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. "No," she answered very quickly. Too quickly. "Mom always goes away." I'm used to it. I'm used to it. There was the first crack in the armor. Vanessa hadn't just abandoned me. She had abandoned her own children, using money and gifts as a substitute for love. "Sophia, how often does your mom go on trips?" "I don't know, once a month, sometimes more. She always says it's for work, but nothing. I shouldn't talk about that. Mom says family problems aren't discussed. Family problems aren't discussed. The golden rule of abusers. Silence." I stood up and walked to the door. Before leaving, I turned around. "Sophia, would you like to learn how to make those chocolate chip cookies you liked so much when you were little?" Her eyes lit up for a second before fading. "Mom says your kitchen is dirty. Your mom says a lot of things. Why don't you check for yourself tomorrow?" I closed the door, leaving Sophia with her thoughts. The first seed was planted. What I didn't know then was that Dylan's phone, the one he couldn't use without Wi-Fi, had messages that would reveal Vanessa's darkest secret. Messages that would explain why she had really gone to Miami. And when I discovered them, I understood that I wasn't just saving my grandkids. I was saving my entire family from a woman who was much more dangerous than I ever imagined. The second day dawned differently. I already had my plan in motion. At 6 a.m., before the kids woke up, Linda arrived with a shoebox. "Here is everything you asked for," she whispered, handing me the package. 3 voice recorders the size of a button, a camera that looks like a smoke detector, and this. She pulled out a manila envelope. The credit reports you asked for. Barbara. Your daughter-in-law has debts of $30,000, all in Robert's name. My heart sank. My poor son had no idea. And your sister Susan from Child Protective Services is coming tomorrow at 3 for a casual visit. But Barbara, you need concrete evidence if you want to do something legal. Evidence. That was exactly what I was going to get. When the children woke up, breakfast was on the table. Pancakes shaped like animals, fruit cut into stars, chocolate milk. Not the horrible food their mom had told them I made. Dylan was the first to come down, still in his wrinkled pajamas. He stopped dead when he saw the table. What is this? Breakfast. Eat before it gets cold. He sat down suspiciously, took a bite, and for the first time, I saw something resembling a smile, but he immediately composed himself. It's whatever. I've had better. Sophia and Mason came down, attracted by the smell. Mason launched himself directly at the pancakes. These are delicious, Grandma. Shut up, stupid, Sophia elbowed him. We shouldn't. She fell silent. Shouldn't what, Sophia? Nothing. After breakfast, I set my rules. If you want Wi-Fi, television, or any privilege, you have to earn it. Dylan, your job is to wash the dishes. Sophia, make the beds. Mason, pick up the toys. That is child exploitation, shouted Dylan. No, my child. Exploitation is what I see on your mom's phone. I took out my phone and showed a screenshot of Vanessa's Facebook. Look, here is your mom in Miami on the beach with a man who isn't your dad. The 3 kids came closer to look. In the photo, Vanessa was in a bikini, hugging a man who definitely wasn't Robert. The hashtag said new life finally free. That's Uncle Kevin, said Mason innocently. Mom's friend who sometimes comes over when Dad is working. Dylan covered his mouth quickly, but it was too late. The second piece of the puzzle had just fallen into place. Uncle Kevin? I asked casually. How often does Uncle Kevin come over? We shouldn't talk about that. Dylan looked at me with panic. Mom said if we told about Uncle Kevin, Dad would get very sad and could die of sadness. My God, the level of manipulation was worse than I thought. Kids, your dad isn't going to die of sadness. Adults don't work like that. But I need you to tell me the truth about everything. It's important. Why? Sophia crossed her arms. Why do you want to know? Because I love you. And when you love someone, you protect them. And right now, you need protection. It was Mason who broke first, the youngest, the most innocent, the one who wasn't completely corrupted yet. Grandma, why does Mom say you're mean if you make such yummy pancakes? I don't know, sweetie. What else does your mom say about me? She says you're poor and embarrassing. That's why we can't visit you. She says your house smells bad and that you're a bitter old woman who ruined Dad's life. Every word was a stab, but I maintained my composure. I discreetly installed the first recorder under the dining room table. And what do you think? Your house smells like cinnamon and coffee, said Sophia quietly. It smells like home. That afternoon, while the kids did their assigned chores protesting, but doing them, I checked Dylan's phone. He had forgotten that kids these days save everything in the cloud. With a little patience, I accessed his Google account. What I found froze my blood. WhatsApp conversations between Vanessa and this Kevin. Not only were they lovers, they were planning something much worse. Almost everything is ready, Vanessa wrote. Robert signed the papers without reading. As always, the house is already in my name. And the brats? Kevin replied. I'll leave them with the old woman as soon as she gives me the divorce. After all, Robert works so much he never sees them. He won't be able to ask for custody. But we need more money to go to Miami permanently. The old woman has a house. It's worth at least $200,000. When she dies, Robert inherits. And as his wife, half is mine, or was mine. We'll see how we manage to keep everything. I kept reading. Vanessa had taken out 3 credit cards in Robert's name. She had sold the car that was in his name and told him it had been stolen. She had even tried to take out a loan using my house as collateral, but she needed my signature. That's why the monthly trips weren't for work. They were to meet Kevin in different cities. They had gone to Cancun, Las Vegas, New York. All paid for with the money Robert killed himself working for. I took photos of everything. Every message, every photo, every piece of evidence. My friend Linda was right. I needed to document everything. That night, during dinner, I decided to test the children. What would you like to do tomorrow? Go home, replied Dylan automatically. Which home? Your dad's or Uncle Kevin's? Sophia's fork fell onto her plate. I don't know what you're talking about. Sophia, my love, I know it's hard, but I need you to tell me the truth. Uncle Kevin lives with you, doesn't he? Well, sometimes when Dad travels for work, he stays to take care of us. In the guest room? Mason let out a nervous giggle. No, Grandma. He sleeps in Mom and Dad's room and he doesn't let us enter and they make weird noises. Dylan stood up from the table, furious. Shut up, Mason! Mom said not to say anything. And what else did your mom tell you not to say? It was then that Sophia broke. Tears started falling like a waterfall. That Dad is boring. That Uncle Kevin is more fun. That soon we're going to have a new house with a pool. That we're not going to be poor like Dad anymore. That we're not going to end up like you, Grandma, living in an old, ugly house. I hugged her. For the first time in years, my granddaughter let me hug her, and she cried. She cried like the 10-year-old girl she was, not like the little robot Vanessa had tried to create. Grandma, whispered Dylan, and for the first time there was no hostility in his voice. Does Dad know? No, sweetie. Your dad doesn't know anything. Are you going to tell him? I'm going to do something better. I'm going to make sure you are okay. That your dad is okay, and that your mom, well, that your mom gets exactly what she deserves. That night, after putting the kids to bed and for the first time none of them protested, I called Robert. Hi, Mom. How are the kids? Vanessa told me you offered to watch them. I offered? The liar had twisted everything. They're fine, son. Listen, could you come over tomorrow after work? There is something about the house I need to discuss with you. It's urgent. Vanessa asked me not to bother her on her work trip. It's about a leak in the roof. It could affect the structure. It wasn't entirely a lie. There was a leak, but not in the roof. Okay, Mom. I'll be there around 7. I hung up and looked at the calendar. 12 days left until Vanessa returned. 12 days to dismantle 10 years of lies, manipulation, and psychological abuse. But now I had something I didn't have before. 3 children who were starting to see the truth. And the truth, as the saying goes, always comes to light. Tomorrow the psychologist would come. Robert would see the proof, and the house of cards Vanessa had built would start to collapse. The war was just beginning, but for the first time in years, I had all the weapons to win it. The third day started with a literal explosion. Mason had found some firecrackers left over from the 4th of July and decided to light one inside the house. At 5 a.m., Grandma, the house is burning, Sophia screamed. I ran with the fire extinguisher I always keep in the kitchen, thank God. The firecracker had scorched the dining room curtain and filled everything with smoke. Mason was standing in the middle of the chaos, laughing. It's funny, like on YouTube. Funny? You could have burned the house down, Mason. And what? It's an ugly house anyway. Mom said when you die she's going to sell it and buy us a better one. There was Vanessa's pure poison coming out of my 7-year-old grandson's mouth. But this time it didn't hurt. It gave me fuel. You know what, Mason? You're right. It is an old house. Do you know why? Because in this house I raised your dad by myself after your grandfather died. In this house, I graded papers until 3, 0 inches the morning to pay for his tuition. In this ugly kitchen, I prepared 1,000 lunches with love so your dad never went to school on an empty stomach. The boys stopped laughing. And if your mom thinks she's going to keep this house, she is very wrong. Because yesterday I changed my will. Everything goes to a charity for orphans, children who would value having a roof. You can't do that, shouted Dylan, who had run downstairs. That house is our inheritance. Inheritance? You, who never visit me, who despise me, who treat me like a servant, want an inheritance? Mom says it's our right. I took out my cell phone and played the recording I had made the previous day of their conversation at dinner. Their own voices filled the room. Dad is boring. Uncle Kevin is more fun. We're not going to be poor like Dad anymore. The 3 of them stood petrified. You recorded our conversation? Sophia was pale. I record everything, my child. Every word, every confession. Because when your mom comes back and tries to turn everything against me, I'm going to have proof. That was when Dylan exploded, and it wasn't pretty. You're a nosy old woman. That's why Dad never visits you. That's why Mom hates you. You're a bitter woman who can't stand seeing anyone happy." He started throwing things. The vase my mother gave me, the picture frames on the shelf, my retirement diploma, all while shouting obscenities that no one 2-year-old boy should know. "I hate you. I hate you. I wish you would die." Sophia joined the chaos, went to the kitchen and started throwing plates on the floor. "If you don't give us Wi-Fi right now, we're going to destroy your whole house." Mason, not wanting to be left behind, grabbed my photo albums and started ripping the pages. Photos of my wedding, of baby Robert, of my parents who are gone, pieces of my history flying through the air like macabre confetti. I stood in the middle of the hurricane, calm, observing. The hidden camera Linda had installed was recording everything. After 20 minutes of destruction, the three of them were exhausted, panting among the rubble of my living room. "Are you finished?" I asked calmly. They looked at each other, confused by my lack of reaction. "Now you are going to clean everything, every broken piece, every destroyed photo. And while you do it, you are going to think about this. Your mom left you here because she doesn't want you. If she wanted you, she wouldn't have gone with Uncle Kevin to Miami. If she wanted you, she wouldn't use you as weapons against your dad. If she wanted you, she wouldn't teach you to hate the only person who really cares about you." "You don't care about us," shouted Dylan. "Oh no? Who do you think convinced your dad not to sell the house when he lost his job 3 years ago? Who lent him money to pay your tuition when Vanessa spent the money on her trips? Who has been saving money for your college since you were born?" I took 3 savings passbooks out of the drawer, one in each name. Dylan, $4,500. Sophia, $3,800. Mason, $2,500. Every month from my pension, I save $100 for each of you. Since I can't see you, at least I can secure your future. But you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to the bank to cancel these accounts. That money is going to go to children who do value other people's effort. Dylan grabbed his passbook with trembling hands. $4,500. For me? They were for you. It was Sophia who broke first. "Grandma, we didn't know." "You didn't know or you didn't want to know? It's easier to believe your mom's lies than to think for yourselves, right?" At that moment, the doorbell rang. It was Susan, Linda's sister, from Child Protective Services. "Good morning, Mrs. Miller. I'm here regarding the call we received about possible child negligence." The children turned white. "Come in, Susan." As you can see, the children just had an episode. Susan observed the destruction, took out her camera, and started taking photos. "The children did this?" "Mom says it's their way of expressing themselves," murmured Mason. "Your mom encourages them to destroy other people's property," I said. "Mom says Grandma is old and it doesn't matter what she thinks," replied Sophia. Susan took notes. "And where is your mother now?" "In Miami, on a work trip," said Dylan automatically. "Work." I took out my cell phone and showed Vanessa's Facebook. New photo, she and Kevin toasting on a yacht. A lot of work, as you can see. Susan reviewed the photos, the conversations I had printed, the bank statements with the debts. Her expression became more serious. "Kids, I need to talk to each of you separately." While Susan interviewed the children, I picked up the pieces of my torn photos. Each fragment was a memory, but they didn't hurt me anymore because now I understood that I wasn't losing the past. I was recovering the future. An hour later, Susan came out of the room where she had been with Dylan. "Mrs. Miller, these children are suffering from severe emotional abandonment. The psychological manipulation is evident. The oldest is on the verge of depression. The girl has chronic anxiety, and the little one is acting out what he sees. What can I do for now? Document everything. When the father comes, I need to talk to him. And when the mother returns, I'm going to have to open a formal investigation." After Susan left, I found the 3 children sitting on the stairs. They no longer looked like the little tyrants who had arrived. They looked like what they really were, scared and abandoned children. "Are they going to take us away from our dads?" asked Mason with a trembling voice. I sat with them on the stairs. "No, sweetie, no one is going to separate you from your dad. But things are going to change, and it's going to hurt. Change always hurts, but sometimes it is necessary. Grandma, Dylan didn't look me in the eyes. About Uncle Kevin. Dad is going to die of sadness if he finds out. No, my child. Your dad is stronger than you think, and he deserves to know the truth. We all deserve the truth. That afternoon, while they cleaned the mess they had made, this time without protesting, I heard Sophia whisper to Dylan, "What if Grandma is right? What if Mom really doesn't love us?" "Shut up," replied Dylan, but his voice no longer carried conviction. Mom has to love us. She's our mom." But even he doubted now. The armor of lies was beginning to crack. That night, after dinner in silence, Mason approached me with something in his hands. It was a torn photo he had tried to tape back together, the photo of his dad on his graduation day. "I'm sorry, Grandma. I tried to fix it." I hugged him. For the first time since he arrived, my youngest grandson hugged me back. "We can fix many things, Mason, but first we have to accept that they are broken." And in a few hours, when Robert arrived, the real reconstruction would begin, brick by brick, truth by truth, until nothing remained of Vanessa's castle of lies. Robert arrived at 7:15. He came straight from work in his engineer uniform, stained with grease, eyes sunken from exhaustion. When I saw him at the door, for a moment I saw the 8-year-old boy crying because the other kids made fun of his patched shoes. "Hi, Mom." "Where are the kids?" "Doing homework in the dining room." "Robert, sit down. We need to talk." "Is it about the leak?" "Can I check it quickly?" "It's not the leak in the roof, son. It's the leak in your marriage." He froze. "What are you talking about?" I put a binder on the table. Inside, the screenshots of Vanessa's conversations with Kevin, the statements of the credit cards she had taken out in his name, the Facebook photos of her work trip in Miami. Robert took the papers with trembling hands. With every page he turned, his face lost more color. This has to be a mistake. Vanessa is at a sales conference." "Robert, honey, Vanessa is in Miami with her lover. The kids know. They've known for months." "The kids." His voice broke. "The Uncle Kevin who comes to watch them when you travel. The one who sleeps in your bed. The one your children have had to endure in silence because their mother threatened that you would die of sadness if you found out." I saw the exact moment my son broke. He didn't cry, he didn't scream, he just sank into the chair as if someone had cut the strings holding him up. "I'm an idiot," he whispered, "a complete idiot." "No, son. You are a man who trusted the wrong person. But now you have to be strong. For your children." "Dad." Dylan was in the doorway. He had heard everything. Robert looked up, and for the first time in years, he really looked at his son. Not the spoiled child Vanessa had created, but the scared teenager who desperately needed his father. "Dylan." "Son, we already knew, Dad. We've known for a long time." Sophia and Mason appeared behind their brother. The three of them stood in the doorway as if afraid to approach. "Come here." Robert opened his arms. And for the first time in I don't know how long, I saw my grandkids run to hug their father. The four of them cried together while I brewed a pot of coffee. Sometimes tears are the first step to healing. That night, after Robert took the kids to bed early, I stayed alone planning the next phase. Vanessa had underestimated the retired teacher, but now the teacher was going to give her a lesson she would never forget. The following days were intense. Robert took vacation days, the first in 3 years, and practically moved into my house with the kids. Together we implemented what I called Project Respect. First, schedules. Wake up at 7, breakfast at 8, educational activities, lunch, free time earned with good behavior, dinner, and bed at 9. "But at home, we sleep whenever we want," protested Sophia the first day. "That's why you are how you are," I replied. "The brain needs routine to feel safe." Second, responsibilities. Each child had age-appropriate chores. Dylan helped with the garden, Sophia in the kitchen, Mason organized the games. "This is exploitation," murmured Dylan while pruning the plants. "No, this is family," Robert corrected him. "In a family, everyone contributes." Third, real consequences. If they didn't comply, no Wi-Fi. If they yelled, time out. If they broke something, they repaired it or paid with their allowance. But most importantly, family sessions with the psychologist Linda had recommended. Dr. Patterson came to the house 3 times a week. "These children have been used as pawns in a sick game," she told me after the 3rd session. The mother has conditioned them to reject any authority that isn't hers, but paradoxically, she herself is absent. It's a classic case of parental alienation combined with emotional neglect. It can be reversed with time, patience, and lots of love, but it can be done. And little by little, it started to work. On the 5th day, Sophia asked me to teach her how to make chocolate chip cookies. While we kneaded the dough, she started talking. "Grandma, why does Mom hate you so much?" "She doesn't hate me, sweetie. She fears me." "Fears you? Why?" "Because I represent everything she isn't. I worked all my life. I built something with my hands. I raised a son with values. She wants everything easy, fast, without effort. And when someone like me exists, it reminds her that she chose the wrong path." "Is Mom a bad person?" I meditated on my answer. "Your mom is lost. She made wrong decisions and now she is so sunk in her lies that she doesn't know how to get out. But that doesn't justify the damage she has done to you." On the 7th day, Dylan approached while I was sewing Mason's pants. "Grandma, can I ask you something?" "Of course, my child." "Why did you never defend yourself? All these years, when Mom spoke badly of you, why did you never say anything?" "Because I thought keeping the peace was more important than being right." "It was a mistake. Sometimes silence isn't peace, it's complicity with abuse." "Do you regret it?" "I regret not acting sooner. But I don't regret acting now." On the 8th day, something extraordinary happened. Mason, my youngest grandson, the most damaged by neglect, brought me a drawing. It was our family, Robert, the 3 kids, and me in the center. Vanessa wasn't in it. "And your mom?" I asked gently. "Mom is on a trip," he replied. "She's always on a trip, but you are always here." That night, Robert and I had a conversation we should have had years ago. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I failed you as a son." "No, Robert. I failed you as a mother. I should have taught you to recognize the signs. I should have protected you better." "How did I not see what was happening?" "Because love blinds us, son. And because manipulators are experts at making us doubt our own perception." "What am I going to do when she returns?" "That's what we're preparing for. I have a plan." And boy, did I have a plan. With Linda's help, I had contacted a lawyer specializing in divorces with parental alienation. With Susan from CPS, we had a complete file. With Dr. Patterson, we had psychological evaluations of the children. On the 9th day, the kids did something that left me speechless. They organized a dinner for their dad and me. They cooked with supervision, set the table, even made a centerpiece with flowers from the garden. "It's to say thank you," explained Dylan, without a trace of the hostile boy who had arrived. "Thank you for not giving up on us." During dinner, Robert took out his cell phone. Vanessa texted me. She says she arrives in 5 days and hopes the kids are ready. "Ready for what?" asked Sophia. Robert looked at me. It was time to tell them. "Kids, when your mom returns, things are going to change a lot. Dad is going to ask for a divorce." I expected crying, protest, drama. Instead, Mason asked, "Are we going to be able to keep coming to Grandma's?" "You are going to live with me," said Robert. "And you're going to see your grandma every day if you want. And Mom. Your mom will have to make decisions, but whatever happens, you are going to be okay, I promise you." That night, while tucking Mason in, he told me, "Grandma, you know what? I don't miss the iPad anymore." It was a small miracle. But big changes always start with small miracles. 5 days remained until Vanessa's return. 5 days to finish preparing everything. Because when she crossed that door, she wouldn't find the broken children she had left, nor the submissive mother-in-law she expected to manipulate. She would find a united family, strong and ready for battle. And I, the old retired teacher who, according to her, didn't do anything, was about to teach her the most important lesson of her life. Never, ever underestimate the power of true love over manipulation. The 10th day began with a revelation that changed everything. Sophia came to my room at 6 a.m. with red eyes from not sleeping. "Grandma, I need to tell you something. Something I haven't even told Dad." I sat on the bed and hugged her. "What's wrong, baby?" Mom has another phone. One Dad doesn't know about. She hides it in her makeup bag. One day I saw it by accident and it fell. She was trembling. And what did you see?" "Photos. Lots of photos of her with Uncle Kevin, but also, there were documents. Papers from a bank in Miami, and something about a house she bought there." My heart stopped. A house in Miami. Yes. And there was more. An email from a lawyer about custody. Mom wants to take us to live in Miami with Uncle Kevin. It said something about moving us to a different jurisdiction so Dad couldn't stop her. My God. Vanessa didn't just plan to abandon Robert. She planned to steal the children and disappear. Is there anything else I should know? Sophia hesitated. Then she pulled something out of her pajamas. It was a USB drive. I copied everything. I don't know why I did it. Maybe because deep down I knew someday someone would need to see it. I hugged her tight. My 10-year-old granddaughter had to carry this secret alone, being braver than many adults. I plugged the USB into my old computer. What we found was devastating. Not only was there evidence of the house in Miami, bought in Kevin's name with money Vanessa had been siphoning from joint accounts for 2 years. There was also a detailed plan. Phase 1. Convince R that I need a training trip to Miami. Phase 2. During my absence, Kevin will empty the house of everything valuable. Phase 3. Upon returning, I will provoke a fight with the old woman. I will make it look like she mistreated the kids. Phase 4. I will use that to justify leaving with the kids for their safety. Phase 5. Once in Florida, there is no return. But the worst was in an audio file. It was Vanessa talking to someone on the phone. I don't care if the brats cry for their dad. In 2 months they'll forget. Besides, Robert is so pathetic he won't even fight. And if he does, I have edited videos where it looks like he hits Dylan. Technology works miracles, girlfriend. Sophia was crying. Mom was going to say, Dad hit us? Your mom was willing to do anything to get her way, but Dad has never touched us. Never. I know, my love. That's why I recorded everything since you arrived, to protect you and your dad. At that moment, Dylan entered. What are you talking about? Sophia told him everything. I saw fury grow in my oldest grandson's eyes. I'm going to kill her. I'm going to. No, Dylan. You are not going to do anything violent. That is exactly what she wants. For you to react badly so she can use it against you. We are going to be smarter than her. With the truth. And with the law on our side. I immediately called the lawyer I had contacted. When I explained the situation, he told me to come immediately with Robert. While we waited for Robert, who had gone to run some errands, Mason joined us in the living room. Why is everyone sad? We aren't sad, my love, I told him. We are preparing. For what? To protect our family. Mason stood thinking. Then he said something that broke my heart. Grandma, I know Mom doesn't love me. Once I heard her tell Uncle Kevin that I was a mistake. That if it weren't for me, she would already be free. 7 years old. My 7-year-old grandson had heard his own mother call him a mistake. Mason, look at me. You are not a mistake. You are a gift. And if your mom can't see it, it's her loss, not yours. Then why did she have me? Dylan answered before I could. To tie Dad down. Mom got pregnant with you just when Dad had asked for a divorce the first time. Dad already wanted to divorce? Sophia was surprised. 3 years ago. I heard them fighting. Dad had discovered that Mom had spent Grandpa Mike's insurance money on a trip with her friends, but then Mom told him she was pregnant with Mason, and Dad stayed. I started connecting dots. Mike's life insurance. I never knew how much it was, but Robert had told me he would save it for the kids' education. Now I understood where it had gone. Robert arrived with his face undone. Mom, I went to the bank. Vanessa emptied our savings account yesterday. $38,000. Everything we had saved in 10 years. Sit down, son. There is more you need to know. I showed him everything. The documents, the audios, the plan. With every piece of evidence, Robert seemed to age years. How could I be so blind? Dad. Dylan sat next to him. It's not your fault. Mom is very good at lying. She fooled us all, but I'm your father. I should have protected you. You are protecting us now, said Sophia. That's what matters. The lawyer arrived at noon. Mr. Marshall, a man of about 60 with a bulldog face but kind eyes. With all this evidence, we can not only prevent her from taking the children, but also request a restraining order. Attempting to flee the jurisdiction with minors is a serious offense. Plus, the financial fraud. We are talking about jail time. I don't want her to go to jail, said Robert. I just want my kids safe. Dad, she was going to accuse you of hitting us, Dylan reminded him. She was going to destroy you. Even so, I don't want her children to see their mother in prison. Marshall nodded. I understand. We can negotiate. She gives up custody, returns the money, and there are no criminal charges. But we need to act fast. If she suspects something, she arrives in 4 days, I said. Perfect. Enough time to prepare everything. After the lawyer left, we all sat in the living room, my small living room that had seen so much history. Kids, Robert started, I want you to know that whatever happens with your mom, I am always going to be here. And your grandma, too. Is Mom going to go to jail? Asked Mason. We don't know. But she's going to have to face the consequences of her actions. Are we going to see her again? Sophia tried to sound indifferent, but it was her mother after all. That will depend on her, and what the judge decides is best for you. That night, while eating chili I had made with Sophia's help, Dylan said something that filled me with pride. Grandma, thanks for not giving up, for fighting for us when even we didn't do it. I will always fight for you, always. You know, added Sophia, these have been the best days of my life. For the first time, I feel like a family. Me too, said Mason with his mouth full of chili. And Grandma's food isn't horrible, it's the best in the world. We laughed for the first time in years. We laughed as a family. But while the kids watched a movie in the living room, Robert and I had a more serious conversation in the kitchen. Mom, I'm scared. What if Vanessa gets violent? What if she tries to take the kids by force? That's why we have the plan. The day she arrives, the kids will be at Linda's house. The police will be alerted. The lawyer will be present. You won't be alone with her. Not for a minute. And if the kids miss her later, what if they hate me for separating them from their mother? The kids will miss the mother they never had, not the one they have. And with therapy and love, they will heal. We will all heal. I looked at my grandkids in the living room, curled up on the couch watching the movie. In 10 days they had changed so much. They were no longer the little tyrants who had arrived. They were kids, just kids who needed love and boundaries. 3 days remained for Vanessa's return. 3 days to finish legally armoring these children. Because what Vanessa didn't know was that while she enjoyed herself in Miami, an army had risen here. An army of love, truth, and justice. And we were ready for war. The last 3 days before Vanessa's return were the most intense and beautiful of my life. It was as if the universe had given us this time to build the foundation that should have existed from the beginning. Day 11 dawned rainy. While I prepared breakfast, I found Dylan in the living room looking at a photo album he had rescued from the destruction of the first day. That's Dad. He pointed to a photo where Robert was his age. Yes, he had just won the state math contest. Look at his proud face. He looks like me. No, my child. You look like him. And not just physically. You have his intelligence, his nobility. You just had buried it under pain. Dylan turned the page. There I was, 35 years old with my first group of students. You looked happy, Grandma. I was happy. Teaching was my passion. Like cooking? Like loving us? Why did you let Mom keep you away from us? I sat next to him. Cowardice. I thought if I didn't make waves, someday she would change. But abusers don't change with submission. They get stronger. Grandma, do you think I'm like Mom? Sometimes I feel so much rage inside. Rage doesn't make you bad, Dylan. What you do with it is what defines who you are. Your mom uses her rage to damage. You can use it to protect, to build, to change what is wrong. That morning we did something special. I taught them to cook my mother's pot roast, slow cooking, patience, love. A ritual I had waited to share with them for years. Why is it so complicated? Asked Sophia while we chopped vegetables. The best things in life require time, patience, and love. There are no shortcuts for what is really worthwhile. Mason was in charge of seasoning. His little face of concentration was pure poetry. It smells like Christmas, he said. It smells like tradition, I corrected. Like history. My grandmother made this roast. It survived the Depression, 2 world wars, and now lives in us. We are history. Mason seemed amazed by the idea. We are living history, my love. Each of us carries the stories of those who came before. While we cooked, Robert worked at the dining room table with the lawyer, signing documents, preparing legal strategy. Occasionally, he looked at us with a sad smile. Dad seems different, observed Sophia. Your dad is waking up from a very long sleep, I explained. It hurts to wake up, but it is necessary. That afternoon, Dr. Patterson came for a special family session. I want each of you to write a letter to Vanessa, not to send it, but to get out what you carry inside. Dylan wrote 3 pages of fury, Sophia, a page of questions. Mason drew his mom as a monster with suitcases instead of hands. Robert wrote only 1 line, I forgive you, but I won't allow you to do any more damage. I wrote, I failed as a mother-in-law by not stopping you sooner. I won't fail as a grandmother. Now, said the doctor, I want you to burn them. Let the pain go. In the backyard, under the light rain, we burned the letters in a clay pot. While the paper turned to ash, Mason asked, Are we free now? Now we start to be free, replied the doctor. Day 12 was practical preparation. Linda came with her sister Susan from CPS. The day Vanessa arrives, the kids will be at my house, explained Linda. It's better they don't witness the initial confrontation. But I want to see Mom's face when she realizes we know everything, protested Dylan. No, my love, I intervened. Revenge is not our goal, protection is. Susan reviewed all the documents. With this, we can request emergency custody for Robert. Vanessa won't be able to approach the children without judicial supervision. And if she comes with this Kevin guy? Asked Robert. We will have a patrol car nearby. Any sign of violence and they intervene. That night, while the kids slept, I found Robert in the garden looking at the stars. What are you thinking about, son? About Dad. Do you think he'd be disappointed in me? Your father would be proud that you are finally doing the right thing. It took you a while, but you got here. That's what counts. Mom, how did you manage to raise a son alone? How did you find the strength? I didn't find it. I built it day by day, decision by decision, just like you are building it now. Day 13, the last day before Vanessa's return, we decided to do something special, a real family day. We went to the park where I used to take Robert when he was a boy. The kids ran, played, got dirty. For the first time in years, I saw them simply be kids. Grandma, look, Mason had climbed the highest tree. I can see the whole city. Be careful, I shouted, but Robert stopped me. Let him, Mom. He needs to feel brave. Sophia and I sat on a bench eating popcorn. Grandma, when Mom comes back, all this is going to end. No, sweetie, this is just beginning. What is going to end is the fear, the manipulation, the lies. And if Mom cries? Whenever she cries, Dad forgives her everything. Not this time. This time your dad has something stronger than your mom's manipulation. What? The truth. And you 3 to protect. Dylan approached us with cotton candy for everyone. I spent my allowance, but it was worth it. That's my grandson. Learning that giving is worth more than receiving. At sunset, we returned home. The kids were exhausted but happy. While I prepared dinner, I heard them talking in the living room. Remember when Mom used to bring us here? Asked Mason. Mom never brought us here, replied Dylan. Mom never took us anywhere that wasn't the mall. But Grandma did, said Sophia. In just 13 days, Grandma has given us more than Mom in years. My heart swelled with love and sadness at the same time. During dinner, Robert made an announcement. Tomorrow is going to be a difficult day. But I want you to know that no matter what happens, we are family. And real families protect each other. Mom isn't family? Asked Mason, confused. Mom is your biological mom, but family. Family is who is here when things get tough. Family is who loves you without conditions. Then Grandma is more family than Mom, concluded Mason, with the simple logic of children. That night, while I tucked them in, each one told me something I will keep in my heart forever. Dylan. Grandma, thanks for not giving up on me, even though I was horrible to you. Sophia. Grandma, I want to be like you when I grow up. Strong and brave. Mason. Grandma. Can I call you Mom, Barbara? I know I have a mom, but I need a real mom. I couldn't contain the tears. You can call me whatever you want, my loves. I will always be your grandma who loves you. Robert and I stayed in the kitchen until late, going over the plan for the next day. At 10 a.m., I take the kids to Linda's. At 11, the lawyer comes. At 11:30, the patrol will be at the corner. Vanessa said she arrives at noon, and we will be ready. Before sleeping, I looked at the photos from these 13 days I had taken with my old phone. The transformation was impressive. From 3 broken and hostile children to 3 children healing, laughing, being a family. Tomorrow, Vanessa would return expecting to find her submissive mother-in-law and her emotionally abandoned children. Instead, she would find the consequences of her actions. She would find that true love is always stronger than manipulation. She would find that the family she had despised had become an impenetrable wall protecting the children she had used as weapons. And I, the old retired teacher, was ready to give the last lesson. The most important one. The definitive one. It was 11:58 a.m. Robert and I were sitting in the living room with Lawyer Marshall by our side. The documents were on the coffee table like soldiers ready for battle. My phone showed a message from Linda. "The kids are fine playing in the garden. They don't suspect anything." At 12:03 p.m. we heard the engine of Vanessa's SUV. My heart beat so hard I was sure Robert could hear it. "Calm down, Mom," he told me, taking my hand. "She has no power over us anymore." The door opened without a knock. Classic Vanessa, entering as if it were her house. She was tanned, wearing a new dress that probably cost more than my monthly pension, dragging a Louis Vuitton suitcase. "Oh, it's so hot!" she exclaimed without even looking at us. "Robert, what are you doing here? You should be working. Where are the kids? I hope you haven't spoiled them, Barbara. It's hard enough work for me." She fell silent upon seeing the lawyer. "Who is this?" "Vanessa." Robert stood up. His voice was firm. Nothing to do with the exhausted man who had arrived 13 days ago. "We need to talk." "Talk about what?" "I'm tired from the trip. The kids and I are going home." "The kids aren't here," I said calmly. "And they aren't going anywhere with you." Her face changed. The mask of sweetness cracked a little. "Excuse me? Robert, what does this mean?" Lawyer Marshall cleared his throat. "Mrs. Vanessa, I am Mr. Marshall. I represent Robert in the emergency divorce and custody proceedings he has initiated." "Divorce?" She laughed nervously. "Robert, honey, what did your mother do to you now? You know she's old and invents things." "No, Vanessa." Robert took out his phone and pressed play on an audio. It was her own voice. "The brats are in my way. As soon as I can, I'm getting rid of them. Robert is such an idiot he won't even notice." Vanessa's face lost all color. That is edited. It is illegal to record someone without their consent. It is also illegal, intervened the lawyer, to take out credit cards in your husband's name without his knowledge. $30,000 in debt, ma'am. I don't know what you're talking about. Robert put the statements on the table. 3 cards, Vanessa, all documented. We also have, I continued, evidence of the house in Miami, the one you bought with Kevin using the money you stole from the savings account. I didn't steal anything. It's joint money, which you used without your husband's consent to buy a property in your lover's name, specified the lawyer. That is marital fraud. Vanessa looked at me with pure hate. You! All this is your fault, you nosy old woman. You always wanted to separate me from Robert. No, Vanessa. You separated yourself. I just documented your crimes. Crimes? Please. What are you going to do? Sue me for being unhappy in my marriage? No, said Marshall, taking out another document. For attempted international custodial interference, we have your complete plan to take the children to Florida and then out of the country without paternal consent. Vanessa stumbled. She had to grab the back of the armchair. The children are mine. I gave birth to them. Children are not property, I replied. And after 13 days with me, they made a decision. What did you do to them? Did you brainwash them? This is parental alienation. Robert laughed bitterly. Parental alienation. Seriously? The woman who told our children their grandmother was a dirty, poor old woman talks about alienation? I want to see my children. Now, no. Robert's voice was pure steel. First, we are going to establish the rules. Marshall opened his briefcase. Ma'am, you have 2 options. First, you accept the divorce, give up custody, return the stolen money, and leave without making a scene. In exchange, we do not press criminal charges. Or second, we fight in court. With the evidence we have, you will not only lose the children but face charges for fraud, attempted kidnapping, and psychological violence. From 3 to 10 years in prison. Vanessa dropped into the armchair. For the first time since I met her, I saw her without a mask, and what I saw was pathetic. An empty woman who had built her life on lies. You can't do this to me. I have rights. The children also have rights, I said. The right not to be manipulated, used, emotionally abandoned. I never abandoned them. Oh no? How many trips have you taken this year, Vanessa? 18. We have it documented. 18 times you left your children to go with Kevin. That is a lie. I took out my phone and showed the Facebook photos, her and Kevin on every trip, while her children stayed with the neighbor, with anyone except their father or grandmother. The kids know everything, Vanessa. They know about Uncle Kevin. They know he sleeps in their dad's bed when he's not there. They know you call them brats. They know you plan to take them away. I want to talk to them. No, not until you sign the papers, said Robert. Vanessa took out her phone. I'm going to call Kevin. He is a lawyer. He's going to defend me. Go ahead, said Marshall. But I inform you that Kevin has already been notified that he is involved in a fraud case. I doubt he wants to sink further. She dialed once, twice, 3 times. Kevin didn't answer. He abandoned me, she whispered. The bastard. He abandoned me. Like you abandoned your family, I said. She stood up suddenly. This isn't going to stay like this. I'm going to get my kids back. We all turned. In the doorway stood Sophia. She had escaped from Linda's house. My love! Vanessa ran towards her, but Sophia backed away. Don't touch me. Sophia, my baby, what did they do to you? What did this old woman tell you? Grandma didn't tell me anything. You said it all in your messages with Uncle Kevin. In your lies, every time you left us. I worked to give you a better life. No, you traveled with your lover while we believed we were orphans with living parents. Dylan and Mason appeared behind their sister. Linda came running behind them. I'm sorry, Barbara. They escaped when I wasn't looking. It's okay, I said. Maybe they needed to do this. Vanessa tried to approach Dylan. Son, my love, your little sister is confused. No, Mom. The one who is confused is you. If you think we are going back to you, I am your mother. A mother doesn't call her son a mistake, said Mason with his little voice. I heard you. You told Uncle Kevin I was a mistake. Vanessa paled. No, I didn't. You're making it up. A mother doesn't steal her children's college money, added Dylan. A mother doesn't use us as an excuse for her lies, continued Sophia. A mother protects us, said the 3 in unison. Like Grandma. The silence that followed was deafening. I could hear the ticking of the wall clock, the hum of the refrigerator, even Vanessa's ragged breathing. You're going to pay for this, Barbara, she hissed finally. You don't know who you're messing with. I know perfectly well who I'm messing with. A narcissist who mistook kindness for weakness. But it's over, Vanessa. Sign the papers and leave. And if I don't want to? Robert stood up. Then see you in court. And believe me, with what we have, you won't just lose the kids. You'll lose everything. Vanessa looked at her children one last time. For a moment, it seemed she was going to cry. But narcissists don't cry for others, only for themselves. She grabbed the papers, signed them with fury, and threw them on the table. I hope you're happy. You just took a mother away from these children. No, replied Mason with a maturity improper for his 7 years. We just gained a family. Vanessa left, slamming the door. The engine of her SUV roared and she drove away, taking 10 years of toxicity with her. The kids ran to hug their dad. The 4 of them cried hugged together while I prepared chamomile tea for everyone. Is she gone forever? Asked Sophia. I don't know, answered Robert honestly. But if she returns, it will be on our terms. And if she doesn't come back? Mason's voice trembled. I sat with them on the floor, something I hadn't done in years. If she doesn't come back, we will move forward. Because love isn't begged for. My children, love is given freely. Or it isn't love. Dylan looked at me. Grandma, are you okay? I'm better than okay, my child. For the first time in 10 years, this family is free. That night, while we ate the tamales, which we replaced with lasagna in this version. No, let's stick to the pot roast leftovers, or maybe grilled cheese and tomato soup for comfort food. Let's go with the chili mentioned earlier. That night, while we ate the chili we had prepared days before, Robert raised his glass of iced tea. To Grandma. To the woman who saved us all. To Grandma! Shouted the kids. But I raised my glass to something else. To the truth. Because in the end, the truth always wins. And while I looked at my family, my true family gathered around my humble table, I knew all the pain had been worth it. The teacher had given her last and most important lesson. It is never too late to defend what you love. 3 weeks had passed since Vanessa slammed the door. 3 weeks of peace that were broken one Thursday afternoon when she appeared without warning, but this time, she didn't come alone. I was in the garden with the kids, teaching them to plant tomatoes when we heard voices in the driveway. "I demand to see my children. I have a court order." Robert had gone to work. We were alone. But I was no longer the same defenseless woman as before. "Kids, go inside." "Now." "But Grandma," began Dylan. They obeyed. From the window, 3 scared little faces watched. In the driveway stood Vanessa, a man I assumed was Kevin, and a woman with a folder. "Mrs. Miller?" the woman introduced herself. "I'm from Social Services. We received a report of child abuse and neglect against you." "Of course. Vanessa's counterattack." "Perfect," I replied calmly. "Come in. Check whatever you want." Vanessa smiled maliciously. "I also reported that my husband is an alcoholic and violent, and that you cover for him." Kevin added, "We have witnesses who will confirm everything." "Witnesses?" I laughed. "Paid how much?" The social worker, a young woman named Patricia, seemed uncomfortable. "Ma'am, I need to speak with the children alone." "Of course. But first, can I show you something?" I took out my phone and played a video. It was from day 3 when the kids destroyed my living room. It clearly showed how I remained calm while they acted violently. This is what Vanessa calls abuse, not responding to violence with violence. Patricia watched intently. "The children did this? Ask them. Also ask them why they did it." "That proves nothing," shouted Vanessa. "This old woman has threatened them." At that moment, Robert arrived. He had left work early. Behind him came Lawyer Marshall and, to my surprise, Susan from CPS. "Patricia," Susan greeted her colleague, "what are you doing here?" "We received a report." "Yes, we were notified. That's why I came. This family has been under my supervision for 3 weeks. I have a complete file." Susan pulled out a thick binder. Psychological evaluations of the children, therapy reports, evidence of emotional abandonment by the mother, attempted custodial interference. "That is false. Vanessa was losing control. We also have this." Robert took out his phone. Recordings of Vanessa admitting the reports are false. He pressed play. It was a conversation between Vanessa and Kevin from that same morning, recorded because Kevin, trying to save himself, had started recording everything. "It doesn't matter if it's true or not," Vanessa's voice said. "I just need CPS to believe me to get the brats back. With them in my power, Robert will give me whatever I want." Kevin turned pale. "You told me you didn't know I was recording, you idiot." Vanessa slapped him. Patricia, the social worker, was open-mouthed. "Mrs. Vanessa, this is very serious. Filing false reports is a crime." "I want to talk to my kids." "Talk to them," I said. "But from here. Kids, you can come out." The 3 came out holding hands. They stopped 10 feet from their mother. "Tell this lady the truth," ordered Vanessa. "Tell her how your grandmother mistreats you." "Grandma taught us to cook," said Mason. "Grandma listens to us," added Sophia. "Grandma loves us," concluded Dylan. "You just use us." "She brainwashed them. It's parental alienation." Susan intervened. "Mrs. Vanessa, in my 20 years of experience, I have never seen such a clear case of projection. You accuse others of exactly what you do." "I have something else to show," I said. I went into the house and came out with a box. "These are all the cards, drawings, and letters the children have made for me over the last few years and that you threw in the trash. I rescued them from the bin when I visited. Look at the dates." Patricia reviewed the contents. There were dozens of expressions of discarded childhood love, for my grandma, who I can't see. She read a letter from Sophia from 2 years ago. "I miss you, but Mom says you're busy." There is also this. Robert took out an envelope. "The results from the private investigator I hired. Vanessa has been living a double life, not just with Kevin. She has profiles on 3 dating apps, all active." Kevin exploded. "What? You told me I was the only one." "Shut up, idiot." Vanessa was cornered. Patricia closed her folder. "I have seen enough. Not only is there no evidence of abuse by Mrs. Miller or Mr. Robert, but there is clear evidence of manipulation and false reporting by Mrs. Vanessa. Furthermore, added Susan, I am going to recommend that the mother's visits be supervised and that the children continue in therapy. You can't do this. Yes, we can, said Marshall. And there is more. Mrs. Vanessa, are you aware you are being sued for fraud? The banks have already been notified of the fraudulent credit cards. Vanessa looked at me with hate that could melt steel. You. All this is your fault. No, Vanessa, I just brought to light what you did in the dark. It was then that Kevin spoke. I'm leaving. Vanessa. You lose. I'm not going down with you. You can't leave me. You promised we'd be together. You promised you were rich, that the Miami house was yours. It was all a lie. Kevin left, leaving Vanessa alone in the driveway. For the first time, I saw her as she really was, an empty woman who had bet everything on lies and lost. You have 5 minutes to leave, said Robert, or I call the police. Vanessa approached the children one last time. Someday you will understand what you did to me and you will regret it. No, replied Dylan with surprising maturity. Someday maybe you will understand what you did to us, and I hope you regret it. Vanessa left. This time she didn't slam the door. She left defeated, empty, alone. That night, while eating dinner, Sophia asked, Do you think Mom will change someday? I don't know, sweetie, replied Robert, but that is no longer our problem. Do you hate her? Asked Mason. I thought well before answering. I don't hate her. I pity her. Imagine living your whole life without being able to love for real, without knowing real happiness. That is her prison, one she built herself. 6 months later, it was Saturday morning, and my house was full of laughter, not just my grandkids, but 6 other neighborhood kids. My living room, the same one that was once destroyed in a fit of rage, was now a small art workshop. Grandma Barbara, look at my painting. A 5-year-old girl showed me her work, a smiling sun over a house. After the scandal with Vanessa, the story got out in the neighborhood, but instead of negative gossip, I received support. And when I mentioned I missed teaching, Mom started asking if I would give private lessons. Now I had Barbara's art house, painting classes, crafts, and traditional cooking for kids. I charged fairly $20 a class, but the real pay was seeing those happy faces. Mom. Robert came in with coffee and cookies for everyone. He had changed so much. The exhausted, beaten man was smiling now. He had gained a healthy amount of weight and his eyes shone. How's the class? Perfect. Like everything lately. The divorce had been finalized 3 months ago. Vanessa didn't fight anymore, especially after the banks sued her and she had to declare bankruptcy. The last news we heard was through Sophia, who saw on Facebook that she was working as a caregiver for the elderly in Cincinnati. The irony is delicious, Dylan had commented when we found out. Now she has to take care of old people for $15 an hour. Don't mock, I scolded them. Honest work dignifies. Maybe that will help her find herself. The children had bloomed. Dylan was on the honor roll. Sophia had joined the volleyball team, and Mason had discovered a natural talent for music. My old piano finally had someone to play it. Grandma, Mason approached me during the class break. Can I ask you something? Sure, my love. Do you ever miss the mom she was before? Before what? Before she turned bad. I sat with him in the garden, the same one where everything had exploded months ago. Mason, your mom didn't turn bad. She always had that seed inside. The thing is, some people choose to water the wrong seeds. She chose to water greed, lies, selfishness. And what seeds do we have? You have the seeds of love, honesty, bravery. And every day you spend here with your dad, with me, those seeds grow stronger. That afternoon, after all the kids left, my family stayed for Saturday dinner, which was now tradition. Robert cooked. He had discovered he had talent. The kids set the table, and I enjoyed watching them. I have news, announced Robert during dessert. I got promoted. Production manager. With the raise, I can pay off all the debt Vanessa left in a year. Dad, that's incredible, shouted Sophia. And there's more. I was thinking, Mom, what if we expand your little school? We could build a proper studio in the backyard. Robert, it's not necessary. Yes, it is. You saved my life, Mom, mine and my children's. It's the least I can do. Dylan stood up. I have something to say too. I wrote an essay for the school writing contest. It's about Grandma. He cleared his throat and read, "My hero doesn't wear a cape or fly. My hero is 67 years old, has wrinkled hands from working so hard, and the biggest heart in the world. My hero is my grandmother, who taught me that true love isn't bought with expensive gifts or luxury trips. It is built with patience, with boundaries, with presence. My grandmother saved me from becoming a monster. She taught me that family isn't just blood, it's choice. And I choose my grandmother, today and always." I couldn't hold back the tears. Neither could Robert. Even Sophia, who acted tough, cried. "I wrote something too," said Sophia. "But it's a poem. Once there was a girl lost, in a world of lies tossed. A grandmother came with love so true, and showed a path honest and new. Now the girl is no longer lost, for she found love at no cost." Mason didn't want to be left behind. "I didn't write anything, but I made you this." He took out a drawing. It was all of us in front of the house, holding hands. Above, he had written in his child's handwriting, "My real family." That night, after everyone went to sleep, Robert and the kids stayed on weekends. I went out to the garden. The full moon illuminated my tomato plants, which were already bearing fruit. I thought of Mike, my husband. "I did it, my love. I raised our son, and now I'm raising our grandkids. Not how we imagined, but I'm doing it." I thought of Vanessa, alone somewhere in Cincinnati, working for crumbs. "I hope you find peace," I whispered to the wind. "I hope one day you understand that love isn't manipulated, it is cultivated." And I thought of myself, the retired teacher who didn't do anything. I smiled. I had never done so much, never been so useful, never been so happy. The following Monday, while preparing the next art class, I received an unexpected call. "Mrs. Miller? This is the principal of Lincoln Elementary. We heard about your art school. We were wondering if you would be interested in giving workshops here too?" Paid, of course. Life was returning everything I had sown with interest, but the best reward came a month later. It was Mother's Day. I didn't expect anything. I had never been celebrated much on that date. That morning, the kids woke me up with breakfast in bed. "Happy Mother's Day, Mom, Grandma," the three shouted. "But I am your grandma." "You are more than that," said Robert from the door. "You are the mother we all needed." They handed me an envelope. Inside were legal papers. "What is this?" "The kids want you to be their legal guardian too," explained Robert. "In case something happens to me, they want to make sure they stay with you, not Vanessa." "It was our idea," clarified Dylan with pride. I cried. I cried like I hadn't cried since Mike died, but these were tears of pure joy. While we all ate breakfast together on my bed, which almost broke from the weight, Mason asked, "Grandma, are you happy?" I looked around. My son recovered, my grandkids healing, my house full of life and purpose. "I am more than happy, my love. I am complete." And it was true. Because in the end, it wasn't Vanessa who lost. It was us who won. We won freedom. We won peace. We won true love. The teacher had given her last lesson, but the learning would continue forever, because that is family, a classroom where we never stop learning to love. The end.